Hi, welcome to yet another episode of Monday Nights with Dannie Stewart, and I am your host, Dannie Stewart. First off, I want to start off with, the regular announcements as I've been doing for the last couple episodes. This show is brought to you by the NYPS Network and is sponsored by Lyric. And for those of you who may not know who or what Lyric is a music app that is specifically used to feature and stream music and spoken word performances and albums from the LGBTQ community. So that consists of signed artists, amateur artists, independent artists, DJs, and of course, independent spoken word artists as well. Um, you can find featured music on YouTube and SoundCloud. Um, Pages of every artist can also be found on YouTube, SoundCloud, Facebook. Some of them have their music on iTunes as well. So it just depends on which artist that you're looking for, but Lyric does have all of their music there as well. Um, and if you are an artist who is looking to have your music featured on Lyric or streamed on Lyric, you can email them at info@lyrk.com or from your music page on Twitter, tag them, and the page for Twitter is at music, spelled the regular way, lyric, Lyrik. So Twitter at music lyric, Lyrik, and to submit any information that you may have or to inquire about having your music streamed via Lyric, you can email them at info@lyrk.com. Also here on the NYPS network, we have Morning Tea with DeMarc, which airs every Wednesday at 11 a.m. 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. To Live Crew that airs Thursdays at 7 p.m. Tats is an ongoing appreciation show for those of us who sport our body art. So piercings, tattoos, all of those great things, you will find that on Tats. And that's ongoing all summer. So new episode coming soon. Stay tuned for that. Unpredictable with Leslie. Our late night show, it airs after 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. So anything that airs on, and this is just another warning, viewer discretion is advised. Anything that airs after 10 p.m. on the NYPS network is not censored in any way, shape, or form. So the only thing that you won't see is complete bare nudity, but the person may be nude while they are filming. The conversation gets very sexual and very intense. It's all uncensored. So be ready for that. And if that's not your cup of tea, that's not your thing, that's not your style, just don't watch anything on the network that's supposed to post after 10 o'clock. Um, Last week we had our second mashup and it was very successful. Great job, and congratulations to Team Jonathan who won the mashup competition for this second mashup. Congratulations to you all. Also, we had a real talk session via Zoom. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend. Some unfortunate circumstances took me out of my way, and I ended up doing homework, and I could not divide my attention between the conversation, which I heard was very good from one of the show hosts, and my homework. It took me out. So I do apologize for that because I did want to bring some of those comments to you all, but unfortunately, my life did not take me in that direction. Which brings me to today's topic, life. And most of you are probably like, what do you mean by that? Life. Well, life can be looked at in so many different ways. Some people feel that it's a spiritual journey. Other people think that it's just, here to take and use whatever we can, whoever we can to get to where we have to go. My philosophy on life to begin with, I feel that it's a very spiritual journey. Life is all about growth and developing who you are as a person. Becoming a better person with every day. Someone made a comment to me a couple weeks ago that made me think about something. And I was a little surprised and quite a bit taken aback, but everybody looks at life and things kind of differently. And like I said, I think that it's all about growing. It's all about progression. It's all about evolving. And something that one of my before I get to what was said to me a couple weeks ago, one of my well, no, I'll get to that now. So someone messaged me and told me that they missed me, and I was like, huh? And they said, I just miss who you were when we first met. And I was like, okay. And I just didn't know how to respond to it. It was just really different. And the reason why I say that is because one of my high school instructors who just ended up he just so happened to end up being my mentor in high school. Um, he told me once before I graduated, this was my senior year in high school at that. He told me, um, you should live your life like the Phoenix. And at first I thought he was talking about X-Men, the Phoenix. So I'm like, ooh, fabulous Jean Grey with her superpowers and all that, just not just telekinesis and telepathy, but a little firepower too. I'm thinking, But he was like, no, like the mythical bird, the Phoenix, you should constantly find yourself bursting into flames and from the ashes arising a brand new person. And it stemmed from a conversation on New Year's resolutions, which I always thought was very dumb. And he agreed with me, said, why wait an entire year to change something that you realize was going wrong in February? Be like a phoenix, burst into flames, and come out anew. Make your changes, even if it's from day to day. And I'm not saying change who you are as in, your entire personality or your entire persona, who you are as a person. But when you notice there are small things about yourself, and this is just getting into some of the small stuff, but when you notice there are small things in your life that you're doing wrong, like maybe it could be a spending habit. I had to slow myself down on going to Bath and Body Works at certain points in my life. I just went in there and you lose my mind, ended up spending almost $100 every time I went in. My spending habits used to be awful when I, really started working and I saw some extra money, a little cash flow in there. And I was like, oh, okay, I can go take this and, spend it. And between the liquor store, Bath and Body Works, and food places, I was out of control. So I really had to teach myself to slow down. Hey, you don't need to go there. Hey, you don't need to do this. That's not a necessity. That's a want. You don't need that right now. You need to save your money for this and that. So small things like that. And then some things can be kind of large. Like, some of us are desperate for relationships or I don't know, we just have some toxic behaviors that inhibit us from growing and progressing and getting to different places in life. And so when you come to recognize that, then you are able to correct whatever it is that you need to correct about yourself after a little self-reflection and blase squaze, whatever it is that you need to do, pray about it, meditate on it, all that good stuff. You do what you have to do to figure out the solution to the problem, and then you put that solution in place. And from putting that solution in place, you have come to a period where you stepped into a newer part of yourself, a newer verse in the chapter, or maybe even a new chapter, depending on what it is that you're changing and how far you're going with it. So, never be afraid. And I guess that's the first topic, although that really wasn't the first topic. But don't be afraid to change and move and evolve because and this is my personal opinion. I feel that life is all about evolution, transitioning from one state to another state to another state, making yourself better every single day. So, when I thought about it, and I was in Houston actually when it happened. I thought about it on my way to, and I was even on the plane from Houston to Atlanta, and I just really sat and thought about that thing. I was like, oh my gosh, like, have I changed that much? Is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing? Um, but I don't feel that I have changed that much. Maybe some of my behaviors have become a little more blunt. I'm not as sweet and sugarcoating, as I was a couple months ago. Um, and stuff like that happens. Life happens. I'm into one of my modes where some things, if it falls into place, it falls into place. And that actually was my mindset in January. If it falls into place, it falls into place. If it doesn't, I'm not going to make it fit. I'm not going to make myself do anything that I feel is uncomfortable. I'm not overexerting myself for anything or anyone, except for people that will overexert themselves for me or have done it in the past. But as far as overexertion, going above and beyond constantly or doing something that puts me at an inconvenience, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I can't do it. I've done it before and I always was left with, empty hands, the empty bag, or what have you. And granted, everything does come back full circle. Um, and I'm gonna get to that later. But I just could not, I can't bring myself to doing that right now. I have other things to focus on. So it just, and not saying that I'm trying to duck or dodge any responsibilities that I may have signed myself up to. Never that. But nothing that I mandate for myself is something that is like, okay, I have to do this. This is, blase squaze. It's required of me. So, I don't do stuff like that. But um, yeah, if I can't do it, I just can't do it. I can't do it. So, like DeMarc says, I can't. I can't. So, shout out to DeMarc. So anyway, so I guess my second topic, because I went off on a tangent on that one. So yes, just, that's the first thing, transform. There's nothing wrong with transform. There's nothing wrong with change. Change is actually the one of the constants of life. Life is constantly going to change. There are things that are going to change all the time. My job requires change all the time. I work in a merchandising capacity to where sometimes, we'll put plants in. For those of you may get lost in some of my jargon, so excuse me. But I work outside with plants, and there are times where we may have to put the annuals on table one, and then we may have to move, some perennials to table six, and then they want everything arranged by height, and then we have to, arrange everything by height and then by color. So, some of the annuals may have to move to a different part of the table, but they're a different price point and all this other stuff. And, it's whatever the corporate office wants. I'm not here to question it, unless I have a very, very good reason for questioning or not complying. There's no reason for me not to comply and to question whatever it is that they want. I may not agree with it, and half of what the corporate office wants, I don't agree with. But it's the corporate office. They control everything that goes on in every single store across the nation. So with that being said, you may not like every change that happens. And some of those changes may be letting go of people in your life, walking away from certain relationships or situations that you feel are beneficial or you feel like you just need and you don't want to let go. Moving from a physical location, like home. Some people I know, I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I say this all the time, but I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, and I know when I first got ready to move off to college, I was very skeptical. I didn't know how it would work. I knew I was going to miss my grandmother. I didn't know if she was going to be okay, just her and my brother without me. So before I got ready to go to college, I kind of told my godmother that I didn't want to go and that I was going to try and stay here, although I had been accepted to FAMU already. So I almost ended up not coming to FAMU. But she told me her story of having to stay home because she wanted to go off to the Navy. And when she went off to the Navy, well, she was getting ready to go off into the Navy, but that summer she broke her feet. So she was unable to enlist and go. So she had to stay here, and she ended up going to University of North Florida. Well, stay there, rather. She ended up going to the University of North Florida to pursue a degree in education, administrative education. Um, and she told me some other details that I'd rather not disclose about it. But she said that she regrets not going off or not, expanding her horizons like she did. And she said, you never know what opportunities may await for you in Tallahassee. You never know what it is that may be on that path for you to go. So why limit yourself here when you can go there and then come back here, and you never know how life may be different or how it may change you. So don't be afraid to jump out there and make that change. And I was just like, here she go. But she was right. She was right. I wouldn't change my experience here in Tallahassee or at FAMU for the world. I really wouldn't. um it's made me such a great and wonderful person. So never be afraid of change, because change is constant. You may not like it. And yes, it may scare you a little bit. I was talking to my honey last night, and he was telling me how he was a little taken aback. He was a little scared. He doesn't like to use, I wouldn't like to say the word scared. He was a little taken aback by, us progressing how we are in our new relationship. And he's like, it's just so different. I've never dealt with somebody that is just so strong in their convictions, and they're so grounded and really in my corner like you are. It's just really different to deal with someone so genuine like you. And I was kind of like, oh my gosh, it almost made me cry a little bit. I was like, oh, made me feel like I was accepting an award. But I told him, I said, I've been through some things where people weren't there for me. I know what it's like to be used for social capital, or for the things that you have, and for people to want you for all the wrong reasons. So I've always been a genuine person. I've always been a genuine friend. You can ask anybody that I've ever known that's ever been my friend. I've always been a genuine friend. That's me. That's who I am. I'm a genuine person. You may like it, you may not. I'm very honest. So sometimes what I say, my friends get a little upset with me. Sometimes I get upset with them because the stuff that they say to me. But that's our friendship, and we know at the end of the day, it's out of love. And that's one thing that I feel like I grew up with, and that's another topic later on in this show. But I know that I grew up with a lot of love around me. Family. We weren't very big. My mom, my brother, my grandma, my cousins, my uncle, who I recently just got off the phone with, my auntie. So I had love, lots of it. My godmothers, their families. So I had love from a lot of people. And all I know is how to love people and how to give to people unyieldingly and unconditionally, especially when you prove to me that you deserve that unconditional love and that unconditional, genuine friendship from me. So it's just in my nature. It's just in my nature. And that's what I had to tell him. I was like, it's just in my nature. That's who I am. So, I appreciate that though. So, but yeah. Um, so anyway, moving on to the next topic in life. Go out and get it. Like I said, I just got through talking to my uncle, and he and I were talking about my younger brother, and one of my younger cousins. And I know I have a little procrastination about myself. I'm not going to lie. It's one of my things I just have to learn to work with and deal with and get over. But I have a procrastination issue that I struggle with every once in a while. Um, so we were talking about those two, my brother and my younger cousin. And he said, he was like, man, I was just telling your brother, and I was telling my man here, he was like, I have to, you got to get up, you got to move, you got to shake, you got to go out. He was like, I just want you to make sure that you tell them the same thing. And I do. I tell them, because that's how I got out and I got my job. When I went through my emotional crisis circa 2012, I went home, moved back home to Jacksonville, uh, stayed there for about 4 months, 5 months, I think. And four of those, yeah, it was 5 months. So 4 of those 5 months, I worked. Wait a minute. Actually, about almost 6 months, because it was July when I moved back home. But about 4 or 5 months really. Um, and 4 of those 5 months, I found a job and I started working. And I worked at a gas station, racetrack in Jacksonville, one of them. And so I but the way that I got that job, I moved and I shook. Every day I got up, I got on the computer, and it's aggravating as it is to put in the same information over and over again. Take a whole bunch of assessments that ask all these crazy questions about your personality and all this other crap. I did it. I applied to probably every Walmart in the city of Jacksonville, every Sam's in the city of Jacksonville, um, a couple banks there. Just anything that I found open, I applied to. Winn-Dixie's, all of that. Publix, everything. Anything I could find that was like basic level entry because I had no work experience at all. Yes, and that's another thing. I got my first job in 2012. I didn't have a need to work any of my life, so there's no point in me going out and getting a job. Now I have one. I've been working since 2012 now. And it's just one of my something that I was privileged to do. Some people aren't privileged like that. But yeah. And I found a job. And it just so happened that, my grandma talked to one of the managers in the same racetrack, and she came home and she told me fill out the application there. And I did. And I think I filled it out on a Wednesday. The lady called me on a Friday, set up the interview for a Monday, and hired me on the spot on a Monday. And that's another thing. Both of my jobs, I was hired on the spot. I have that type of personality. But yeah, so you have to go out, you have to get it. Whatever it is that you want, you need to go out there and get it. There's nothing in this world that's going, well, I'm not going to say that because there are some instances where some things will come to you. But the chances of an opportunity of a lifetime just coming to your door and just knocking on your door, no strings attached, like this is what you've been waiting on, what you've been hoping, wishing, praying for, like just the opportunity that will have you set to where you'll have like Donald Trump, Bill Gates, Beyonce, Jay-Z money, like you richer than the president type money. It's very rare that somebody in our class, and especially someone of color that looks like me and a lot of my viewers, that will just come to you, literally just fall in your lap. The chances are slim to none. Not saying it's impossible, but the possibility of it is slim to none. There's a lot of grinding and a lot of work that you have to do to go and get your name out there, get your brand out there, make people know who you are, so that instead of when you walk in the room, you have to go and shake every single hand in the room. You can walk in the room and every person, every eye knows who you are based off of your resume and who you are in your presence. Now, your presence and your gifts will make room for you. That's one thing I can tell you. Because like I said, both jobs that I've ever had in my life, I was hired on the spot. So your presence, your aura, your personality, your character makes room for you. People feel that. People can understand that. There's a favor over some people. And, not to get religious or anything like that with you all, but this is just me and my personal preference. This and anything that I say does not necessarily reflect the values of everyone at the NYPS movement. But the favor of the Lord over your life will definitely make room for you. His grace and his favor will keep you in places where some people don't even want you to be, and will put you in places where some people try and block you into going. So when you get out, you go out and you go get it. For those of y'all who believe in a higher power or anything like that, one thing that I do know from me just trying is that you're required to do something. You're required to do something. I had a conversation with my grandma this weekend about faith. And we went to, and again, nothing is a direct reflection of the NYPS network. So if you are anti-religious, atheist, agnostic, or anything like that, I do not wish to offend you. But my grandma and I had a conversation, and we went to Hebrews chapter 11. In the beginning of Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 says, faith is the substance of things hoped for, but the evidence of things not seen. Then she wrote down Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6, which goes on to say, without faith, it's impossible to please the Lord, or something like that. But we talked about that, and it was just really funny how that ended up being confirmation for her because of something that she had, she was dealing with. And so But one thing I've learned about faith is that you can have the faith the size of a mountain. But if you're not acting in faith and not moving in faith, nothing's going to happen for you. Because in another portion of the Bible, I'm not sure where, I'm not up on verses. I know them, but I don't know their direct location. But I do know it says this: faith without works is dead. So if you're not working in faith, moving in faith, stepping in faith, going and filling out those applications, you're not going and visiting those jobs, you're not walking into those places and shaking hands with the human resources or whoever is over hiring. You're not calling them every day and asking have they received an application, if there's an update on the status. You're not actively searching for work. You're not looking for these opportunities. You're not going out and making yourself known. You're not doing half of what you're supposed to do to get yourself where you're supposed to go. You're not going to get there. You're not going to get there. You can believe that you can get there because it takes belief to get you to where you need to go. If you don't believe that you're going to do it, you're not going to get there. You have to believe in yourself. So if you don't believe that you're going to get there, you're definitely not going to get there. So go out, go get it. Whatever it is that you're looking for, go get it. It's out there. It's accessible to you. And if somebody closes a door in your face, there's still a window. If you feel like the window is locked, there's a, well, I wouldn't say a back door, but make a window, make a door, and then maybe that might not be the area that you need to go into. So maybe you have to step back and reevaluate. Say, hey, let me go over here and try this, or let me go and try that. Maybe this is, a better place for me and this is better fit. So, but you got to get out there, you got to go get it. Now, like I was saying about character and integrity and your personality, that makes room and that makes a huge difference. Most people that are in the hiring business, they are people type people. They're really into people. They're used to dealing with people. The best of the best of the best of human resources are very good at distinguishing personalities. So once you get past that computer screening where you're sitting there and you're answering all those crazy questions about if so-and-so came into work sad and they were moping about, what would you do? Or if you noticed that one of your coworkers was stealing time, blah, blah, blah. Once you get past all that stuff, all them stupid questions, then they have to fill you out in an interview. And that their personality and who they are does dictate how they perceive you as a person. Now, some of us are not all around, we're not an all around people person. That's just a given. Everyone is not going to be an all around people person. Some of us, it takes a special understanding to get to know and to understand us and to appreciate your personality. That's just it. So that I'm saying that to say that you have to understand that first off, every job is not going to be built for you. One thing I know is that customer service and merchandising is not built for me, not for long term. I love my job for a couple reasons. It keeps me healthy, keeps me fit. I've learned a lot about plants, and I've actually come up with a couple business ventures I can go into once I start making money and moving and shaking into my career. I found some things that I can do later on in life that will increase my wealth and my net worth. But as far as the job itself, that's not for me. I love being around people, don't get me wrong. It is a mental strain, but I don't mind. I love being around people. I am a people person. But I can't deal with every single attitude. I'm just not the best at constantly dealing with customers and some of their complaints and their antics. I'm a very direct person. I feel that sometimes some things are common knowledge, although they're not. And then I feel like they're because of the ease of access to technology and information, that people should educate themselves a little bit more, because there are some dynamics of corporate business, such as the one that I work for, that you should be able to know and understand that every store is not autonomous, that all of the stores are separated into districts and markets, and every market answers to one office that's in one location and a small group of people that make all the decisions for every single store in America when you're talking about a large corporation. So some of the stuff that could come through those doors and those gates, I'm just like, where do you live? Like, do you live under a rock? Do you have no understanding of America and the business that we live in? Because if you understand government, which you know what, never mind, I just gave myself an answer. Most people don't even understand the American government, so they definitely don't even understand corporate businesses. Wow. Okay. So anyway, back to what I was talking about. So your character and your integrity, they make room for you. Your gifts and your talents make room for you. Some of us will have to open our mouths and make our gifts known. Others, we just have that persona that people in the room just know, okay, yeah, this is somebody that's about their stuff. The way you carry yourself and the way you present yourself to the public and to those people, they know. I'm one of those people. Like when I walk in a room, it's just something about me says, wow, be careful, back off. Some of us are intimidating like that. And then there are others of us who just, we may seem very meek and timid and it may seem like we have no idea what's going on in the room and everybody may look over you. But if once you get to that podium and to that microphone and you open your mouth or you get there and you lay out your presentation and you present to these people, they're like just amazed, they're shocked because of your intellect and your gift and your knowledge, your prowess of whatever it is that you may be speaking on or whatever you're presenting on. So don't be afraid to showcase your character. Never be afraid to showcase your talents and your gifts because they make room for you. And don't humble yourself to make others comfortable. You're supposed to make people uncomfortable. Now, I'm not saying be bold and be brash and just go into every room like, you got big shit popping and everybody need to bow down. That's not how you do. But when you have a gift and you have your know-how and you know who you are and this is who you are, this is what you have going on, and no one can take that from you. When you're knowledgeable, you look good, you know how to present yourself. Don't humble yourself to fit the standards of other people. One thing that I've learned to do, because I used to do that, you're born to stand out. You're born to be a leader. You're born to set yourself apart from other people, be it just in the way that you walk and you talk and you present yourself, or be it in the way that you present in front of people and your gift and your talent, your personality. You may be able to blend in, but you can blend in while still being set apart from. But never lose that common touch. Never take yourself to where you cannot relate to people and move yourself above the people. That's never good. Always keep that common touch to where you can relate to anybody. Because one thing I can do, I can go in the hood of the hood of the hood and sit down with some of the, people that everybody be like, oh, he might rob you or something like that. And we can sit down and we can have a good conversation and I can understand everything that they're saying and they can understand everything that I say. And then I can go to a formal dinner and sit down with the president and have a very formal conversation about foreign policy or, my scope on, history or something like that. Something that's polite conversation because you're not supposed to bring up politics or religion at a formal dinner. So, anything that the president or any ambassador might want to sit and talk about, I can sit down and we can talk that. I have enough understanding of business to go and sit down with any CEO of any major corporation and discuss business plans with them. Government officials, because government is part of my study, psychology with a minor in pre-law, I can sit down and I can discuss some laws and some issues and concerns with government officials because I know I've experienced it and I just have that intellect. So it's good to be well versed, is what I'm saying. It's very good to be well versed. And about integrity, one thing that you have in life besides your character, your personality, and your life in itself is your integrity. Never allow anyone to call your integrity into question without good, sound proof. And when I say that, always practice good business habits. Always practice transparency, just good practices so that everything is out in the open and everyone has a full understanding. Be concise about everything that you do. Because that's the makings of A, a good leader, B, a well-rounded person, and C, that makes the environment that you work in so much easier for everyone, not just yourself, but everyone else. Because a good leader and a good person, a good teammate, is all about making the entire environment for everyone easy to work in. And let's face it, all of us, most of us want to be a supervisor or a business owner or something like that. The best business owners, the best supervisors are those that are very transparent. You have conversations with everybody when it's time for a meeting or something like that. Everybody's on the same page. No one's blindsided by anything. There are no back channel meetings between you and one other person. There are no alliances made with this other person, no favoritism, none of that. We're all on the same page, on the same area. We all have a full understanding of what's going on. Because in the end of the day, if the business goes down, if the organization goes down, it affects all of us in some way, shape, or form. Everyone is affected, from the president, CEO, whomever, all the way down to the newest member. Everyone is affected. So, your integrity should never be able to be called into question with good evidence against you that just is like, you have bad business practices. If you ever find that, there are some things you need to go back and reevaluate about yourself, which takes me back to point number one. Never be afraid of change, because there's some things you may have to change about yourself in order to improve your business practices. So keep those things in mind as you strive for success and you keep going in life. Um, Live, love, laugh. Cliche, I know, but it's very important. Um, I can honestly say that when I got to college, I really started living. My upbringing was very sheltered. There are a lot of things that I did not know about. Like, some of my colleagues were going to teen clubs that were, open for teenagers when we were in middle school, and I had no idea that such a thing happened. For me, in my household, nightclubs were for people that were 18 and older. You drank, you smoked, you got high, fights and gunfights. That's all I thought of. Again, I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, Duval County. So, you always heard of people and some type of violence breaking out at some type of nightclub. I never knew that teen clubs existed. On top of, well, I kind of knew that people sold drugs, but I didn't know that like teenagers really got into it too. There were a lot of stuff that I was very new to middle school through high school. So like middle school through high school, I learned stuff in and out of the classroom. Like I was a social sponge. I soaked everything in that I could because there was a lot of stuff I did not know that I needed to be versed on. Um, so I feel like I started living once I got to college because I was able to make decisions on my own. I was able to do things on my own for myself. I had to call some shots. I had to make some executive decisions to where it was like, it's either this or this. You don't have to give something up. And sometimes it was going to a party versus doing homework. Other times it was, being able to go catch the cafeteria open or spending money to go to Checkers or somewhere that was open late at night to get something to eat because I had an assignment that was due in the morning. And so it's like, either you're going to get this nappy and go get something to eat, then do your assignment and stay up all night, or you're going to do this assignment now, then you can go to sleep later and wake up and get breakfast, or you do the assignment now, go to sleep, get something to eat, or you can do vice versa, do the assignment, get something to eat, then go to sleep. Hanging out with friends, and they be like, oh, we finna go here, do you want to go? Or we finna go walk around campus or stuff like that, do you want to go with us? Nah, y'all, I gotta study. And then there were other times I just, I didn't make the best decisions. I decided to go and hang out with my people or stay, out a little too late and be up for class at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, be dragging to class, late to class, or decided not to go to class because I was too tired. But those are my decisions I had to make. Then it got to where I got a car, so I was able to go and do a little bit more. So movies, grocery shopping, all that other stuff. And then going out of town, trips out of town with like friends became a little bit more frequent. And that's when I really was like, you know what, I'm really doing it now. And now I feel like I'm living life to like the fullest. I haven't gone out of the country yet, but I plan on doing it. There are a lot of things that I want to do that I have yet to do, but I feel like I'm living my life the best way that I know how, and I'm doing what makes fun, what makes me happy, and what gives me a sense of fun and great, whatever, good times. I'm making great memories with some great people. So, I say get out there and live. Don't be afraid to love people either. I've had my shares of tragic relationships and some very bad breakups and things like that, but never be afraid to love and give of yourself openly and unconditionally. There's nothing wrong with being hurt a few times, because if you don't go through the bad, you'll never learn to appreciate the good in people. And sometimes the bad relationships also point out some things about you. I'm not saying that I was perfect in all of my relationships, because the way that I handled some of my past boyfriends was very passive aggressive. Some stuff I put up with when I knew I shouldn't have. My gut told me I shouldn't have. My spirit told me I shouldn't have. My friends told me I shouldn't have, and I made excuses for them. So I've gotten to where I don't make excuses for people. Like I said, if you don't get in where you fit in, you can get on until I can find room for you, or you can find a place where you fit in. Like there's just but I'm not stingy with my love. I still love my exes, all of them. Not in a way that I would run back to them, but I still love and care about them. I would like the best that's for them. Most of them are doing well, as far as I know. One of them, not so much, but those are decisions that he made. And I love him enough to not subject myself to trying to help him out when he doesn't want to help himself, all of that. So, love your friends, love your family, because your family's not going to always treat you right. They're not going to always do you right, but you still should love them regardless, because at the end of the day, you didn't get to choose them, but they're your family nonetheless. Now, don't let them use you and take advantage of you, because they're just like some of these, bad boyfriends and girlfriends. But at the same time, still love them and treat them as they should be treated. Um, and laugh. I love to laugh, y'all. I love to laugh. So get out there, do things that are fun. Do things that make you laugh. Be around people that make you laugh. I actually just read a post not too long ago that said, be around people that make you laugh. Laughter is good for the soul. Share a smile, share a laugh. So do that. Laugh every day. It's really good medicine. I guess that's why I stay so young. I mean, yeah, I may have wrinkles later on in life once I get to those ages. 21-year-olds don't get wrinkles like that, besides these thought lines up here. I have some thought lines because I think a lot, but other than that, everything else is still smooth porcelain. But but I'm definitely going to have wrinkles from laughing a lot once I get to that stage in life a couple centuries from now. So and I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed of it, because every wrinkle will be a multitude of stories of jokes and funny moments, embarrassing moments of me and my friends. Just good times all around. Hopefully, me and my honey will make a lot of those memories together. If not, the good times that we do have, they'll be etched in some of those laugh lines, a couple centuries from now. So, but laugh unashamed, laugh out loud, as loud as you can sometimes. Just go for what you know. Live, love, laugh, y'all. Enjoy life for what it is and what you can get out of it. Um, Ups and downs, highs and lows. Life is lined with ups and downs, highs and lows. Life is on a continuum. You're going to be, I think of it as a continuum. There's a huge circle, and in this circle is your continuum of life. You'll go from your highest point, and it'll start to swing, and you're going to downswing, and you'll be at your lowest point. But don't be afraid, because somewhere at that lowest point, you'll find your second wind, or something's going to push you, and you're going to shoot up and up and up, and you'll be right back up at your highest point. And you may bounce back, and your high, you may just stay in that high for a long time, but you're going to go back down. There are highs and lows in everything. There's a cycle in everything that we do. We live on a circular continuum, if you ask me. And in this continuum, that's where you learn to live and to grow and to progress into a new person. So I feel like and some of your highs may not be the same, or may not be as peak high as every other high. But you have to take every victory for what it is. Take every loss for what it is. Understand that they're not the end or the beginning, but a moment to stop, reflect, be thankful, and be grateful, and then learn to keep moving forward. They're just another point to, just another stopping point to help you, okay, and, get your win, and then let's keep going. Keep on going. So life is full of ups and downs, highs and lows. Some people may experience more extreme lows than other people, but don't let your temporary situation make you make some permanent decisions for your life. And that's not just gearing towards suicide, but that's also giving up on everything that you ever hoped for and dreamed for in your life. Because a lot of big names that we know were told no several times in their life. If they could tell you every time they were told no, like every single time they were told no, it probably would discourage you to even go for your dreams. But they kept going for theirs. They went for theirs, and Oprah Winfrey, she's one. Tyra Banks, she's another one. I'm pretty sure Naomi Campbell got a hella nose. Lynn Whitfield, Angela Bassett, Kerry Washington, um, Anika Noni Rose. I'm pretty sure a lot of them were told no a lot in their life. And look at them now. Household names, especially in the African American community. So don't let your ups, your downs, your highs, your lows, your yeses, and your nos just dictate every single thing that you do, especially those lows, those downs, and those nos. Don't let those dictate every single thing that you do in life. Keep pressing. Keep pressing. If you know this is your calling, you know this is what you want to do, keep pressing for it. You'll get there. You will get there eventually. Do you? And when I say do you, what I wrote down was do you, boo. But but do you? And when I say do you, I'm kind of going back to that live, love, laugh thing, but not so much. When I say do you, that means do what is best for you in your life. Do what you feel you need to do to help yourself progress. If that means telling people no because it's inconvenient to you, do it. If you feel like that person, and this is something that actually my best friend Antoris has adopted recently, um, if he feels that it's inconvenient, it's going to cause him to struggle, strain, anything unnecessary, he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. It's just no. The way that he and I are, we take on a lot of stuff anyway that may sometimes set us back or just fill up our schedule. So we sometimes create a heavy load for ourselves. So we have to come up with some principles like this and stick to them. And one thing that we don't believe in, you're not going to rush me to do something when you didn't give me a time frame on it. You're not going to make me do something that I feel that you asked me to do. It's different if I volunteer, but if you ask me to do something, and again, there's no time frame, no contractual agreement or anything like that, you're not going to rush me or make me do it. It's just not going to happen. Um, if I'm volunteering my time, or you ask me to do something and it's free of charge, and you know that I charge money for it, and it's not something that that we agree that it's time sensitive or anything like that, don't heckle me about it. If it's inconvenient to me, it's not going to get done. No matter how much you ask me, no matter how much you try and get me to do it, it's not going to get done. And if I just plain flat out don't feel like doing it, or I cannot do it, it just won't get done until I can. Because there are other priorities in my life, especially now. A lot of situations have popped up that I have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And, I really have to focus my energy into channeling it into some of those situations. So some phone calls I have to take, no matter where I am, be it at my job, whatever. When my grandma calls me, I have to take her call now because I'm not sure what it is that she's calling about. Um, and it's not any serious trouble at home or anything like that. Y'all don't get crazy, but it's just some things now we have to handle and we have to get a grip on, and it just happens like that. There are other things that I have to handle for myself. School is the main one, so I have to do me because nobody else is going to do me for me. No one else is going to help me get to where I have to go. No one else is going to push my dream and my vision for me. So I have to do what's best for me. Yes, some people may call that selfish, whatever you may call it. Sweetie, you can call me whatever you want to call me. Because one thing that I know is the top 1%, and when I say 1%, I mean the wealthiest people in the world, are selfish as hell. Because if they weren't, all of us would have wealth. There wouldn't be homeless people. They would actually donate their money to people who needed them. They're selfish as hell. What one person needs with five, six houses, sent, a house in every state, a private plane, 4 and 5 different cars. You can only drive one car at one time. Why is it that you need a car for every week? Or even worse, you've employed somebody to drive you around and take you everywhere that you want to go. That's selfish as hell to me. But, whatever. So I guess I'm in pretty good company if I'm selfish for doing that, but I know I have to do what's best for me. So I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with being selfish. Now, I'm not saying just go out there and do everything for yourself and step on anybody that you need to step on to get to where you got to go. But there are some times where you have to step back and say, hey, it's time for me to focus on myself. Most of my time is going to be channeled into myself. I'm not about to do all of this stuff for you or you and you and you and you and you and all this other stuff. I have to back up. I have to back up. I have to lay off for a little bit, whatever. I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to do it when I can and when it's convenient for me. But you have to understand that these are on my terms, not yours. And there's nothing wrong with that. Plan. These are my last two. Plan. Plan out. Plan out your life the best way you know how, and when I say plan, don't come up with just one plan and think that it's going to work that way. You have to think of a backup plan for the backup plan, the backup plan for the backup plan. All those, you have to think of every which way that something can work out, which is why I have these thought lines now. I think of every possible scenario that could happen, and then I make up a plan that would counteract or take me to another avenue that would lead me to success. So, and actually, perfect example, Scandal. I've been rewatching the first couple seasons of Scandal, and I love the Olivia Pope, the fixer, not, the mistress to the president, but the fixer, Olivia. She plans stuff out, and it's almost instantaneously. She comes up with a solution to a problem. Then something else pops up because the client lies, or there's a twist in the story that they did not see coming. And she finds some way to spin it and still do her job of protecting her client, or doing whatever it is that she's promised that she was going to do. So that takes someone who looks at everything from every single angle and then makes a conscious, cold-cut decision that produces for her client. That's what we all need to do for ourselves. Think of plans and produce for yourself. Produce a plan that will help you get to where you need to go. Think of everything that could possibly go wrong, even the crazy stuff, like an asteroid falling out the sky and hitting your car. Think of the craziest stuff that could happen, and think of a backup plan for that. And then think of a couple more backup plans of what you can do, possible alternatives to the initial plan of what you want to do and where you want to go. Always keep a backup plan. Always. That's one thing, fam, you taught me, actually. No lie. And then the last thing is karma. Like I said, everything comes back in full circle. You reap what you sow. So in that, while you out living and doing all those wonderful things that you want to do with your life, make sure that everything that you're putting out into the universe is something positive. Even though people may mistreat you and call you names and talk about you all types of ways and all that other stuff, that doesn't mean that you go back and you do the same thing to them. You, as First Lady Michelle Obama said recently this week, when other people choose to go low or take the low road, you should choose to go high. Take the high road. Take the high road, and yes, it is tiring. Yes, it is aggravating, always having to look past what other people are saying and other people are doing, because it seems like they're in the fast lane and they're getting somewhere and you're stuck. But I can tell you one thing, baby. One thing about that fast lane, they crash real quick. And you never know what it is that people are doing behind closed doors, or what they're struggling with behind closed doors, that may have put them in the place that they are, but will cripple them later on in life. So it may seem like you're moving at a turtle's pace, but believe you me, your struggle, your slow gait will soon pick up, and soon you'll end up running, because you'll be in the position to where you have the endurance to keep running, and you'll continue to run and run and run, and then after you keep running, your wings will take off, and your wings will develop, and the next thing you know it, you're flying. And where they're still down there on the ground in that fast lane, or they moving over to that slow lane because they hit a couple roadblocks, or the car's starting to break down, the tires going flat, or something. They need to pull over for gas, whatever it is. You up in the air, and you looking down, well, not saying looking down like, they're beneath you, but you're looking at them like, child, well, I know these wings ain't breaking down no time soon. I may have to fly a little low every once in a while because I may run into a storm, but I know one thing, I'm still going to be up here, and I'm still going to keep flying. I'm still going to keep going. So don't ever compare your life to anybody. Always do what you know is best. Do what you know is morally and ethically correct. And if you have to call yourself into question about doing something, you have to think too hard about it. If your gut tells you not to do something, more than likely it's the wrong thing to do. If you feel bad about doing something, more than likely it was the wrong thing to do. So always, keep yourself in check morally and ethically, and practice good morals and good ethics. Do good to other people. And I promise you, you'll get to where you have to go. That also makes room for you too. You never know who you may have helped, or the relative of someone that you may have worked with, that you always spoke to and always treated nice. You never know how good deeds and a good character and good morals and ethics and values help you. You never know. So with all that being said, I hope that I helped somebody today with their life. I hope that some of my advice you all will take and apply to your lives. There's nothing that I don't know. It's I'm not telling you what I've heard or what I've read. These are all things that I know because I've tried it, or it's happened to me, or I've seen someone go through it and experience it. So with that being said, I really hope that you all enjoyed this episode. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you all for watching. We do apologize here at the NYPS Network, because we do understand that sometimes if you try and log on that you cannot log on. We have a huge spike in viewership these days. So there are possibly times where we'll be having to seek alternate routes of displaying our shows, and certain shows going live or being posted in other areas. So if you do have a Facebook, please go to Facebook and like our Facebook page, NYPS Network. We'll keep up the updates flowing on there, as we're updated and we're kept abreast on everything. We're trying. We really are trying. It's a huge spike, and we thank you all so much, all of our viewers out there. We thank you all so much for your continued viewership, for your subscriptions, for your visits and hits on the NYPS Network page. Thank you for viewing this show and every other show and every other post that we put on the NYPS Network. We really appreciate it. You all are really making the dream come true and supporting the movement. And with all that being said, I hope that you all had a wonderful, fabulous, and marvelous Monday. And if you didn't, then guess what? The day is over with, and Tuesday is tomorrow, which means that Wednesday is only a day away, and Thursday is right around the corner, and Friday's pretty much here. So I hope you all have a wonderful and fabulous week. Thank you all for tuning in to Monday Nights with Dannie Stewart, with your host, Dannie Stewart. I will see you all next week. And have a wonderful, wonderful week. Be love, be light, be peace. Love y'all.